Everyone, Shane here. So this video is meant to basically replace what would be a staff meeting at some point, but between everything going on, we want to try to respect the time. It also allows me to go back and redo this to meet time constraints. So this video will essentially just walk through the overview of Schoology. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So overall, what we're going to try to accomplish today is basically going over what Schoology is and along with kind of clarifying the PD plan. So Schoology is pronounced Schoology, not Schoology, so Schoology. I know it's a very minor thing, but we're going to be saying it a lot, and the county's going to be saying it a lot. It's just one of those things that even the company wanted to make pretty clear. But it is a learning management system, or what we sometimes call an LMS, that is going to enhance a lot of features that the technology world has kind of enabled over the past decade or two when it comes to the relationship between technology and education. I'm not going to start with all the how-tos. I actually want to frame it in the idea of instruction first, because the ultimate goal of Schoology is to create more meaningful experiences for our students when it comes to their learning. And obviously communication and organization are all vital parts of that. They're foundational parts of that. But at the end, we should be trying to achieve and aim for kind of, to a certain extent, making sure that the experiences and content we're delivering is for the student and what they need, and kind of enhancing that learning as they go through one of your lessons. I think in the past year, we've really seen the necessity for understanding and organizing our virtual space. If you think about just all the pivots we had to make starting in March about what system we're going to use and kind of clarifying that, and then getting links out, and then normalizing how our Google Classrooms looked. There was a lot of tweaking on the fly to support students as we were receiving feedback from them and our parents, as well as hearing you all and saying, hey, this is very overwhelming to manage. So more than ever, our organization of our digital space is very important, and in a very weird way, this is a really good moment in as we transition back into whatever normal school looks like. That we get an opportunity to hit the reset button on this system, So it's good to really make sure our foundational knowledge and where we're trying to go is there. One of the big things I think when we come back in the building fully, over the past year, we've really worked and developed our online learning skills. And we've always had our face-to-face toolbox, but I think even in the past year, we've learned different ways of doing that I think are making us reflect on our current teaching practices. And when we come back in the building, we're going to have these two pieces of the puzzle, and we're going to work through trying to piece them together. And this has always been the goal of blended learning. The silver lining to this entire situation, as we were working very hard last year, is the silver lining that kind of kept me going was when we come back, this school is set up for blended learning. And not just the school, the entire education system is set up for blended learning. And Schoology is very much the tool that is the possible delivery mechanism for that blended learning experience. And because of that, we want to anchor ourselves back into the FCPS learning model, or sometimes called the instructional framework, and how Schoology will support those experiences that teachers or that students are going to be engaging with. Just a good example of this. When we talk about feedback for students, because I think we've seen a lot of the benefits of talking to students, listening to them, hearing them, we can provide extremely personalized feedback in much more efficient ways in Schoology than we could in any other way. We don't have to download add-ons for our Google Drive or anything. It's just all built into that. And students have their own personal space as well, with portfolios that we can also jump into and support them with. So that's just an example of creating a learner-centered environment. And that's just some of the things Schoology can do, and as we learn more about Schoology, we'll probably learn new things. The last thing I'm really excited for about Schoology is the fact of, if you think and reflect upon what we've been doing so far with how we manage our virtual systems, is we would go to this tool and this tool and this tool, and we had like this massive plate of things that we had to organize. And none of them really communicated with each other. Like normally we put all the links and funnel them through our Google Classroom, but at the end of the day, they weren't actually integrated. Schoology is looking at what we call this plate and saying this plate doesn't work, and we're going to be giving you a new plate. and that plate is going to be Schoology. And almost every system that we have in the county is going to integrate with Schoology in some way. The disclaimer on this is it's going to integrate. I don't know if it's going to necessarily replace our gradebook, but we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when we get to the grading and assessment components of the modules. So once again, we're just trying to make a better plate for you all. In other words, this is going to be a one-stop shop for you, for our students, for our parents, for office staff, for everyone. And most of our systems will probably migrate to Schoology, which is a good thing because then once again, it's all in one spot. We don't have to check FCPSnet. We don't have to go to some Google site that central office is managing. We'll all just be in Schoology somewhere. And now we'll actually go into Schoology and kind of talk about some of the things. Like we just said, it's basically going to integrate all our current systems. The biggest one is making sure that I want to let you know Google Drive will be in there, Horizon will be in there, eCart will be in there. We're going to migrate to Zoom next year, and that will also be in there. Students will all have accounts. They'll all be automatically enrolled. You can easily copy things from one course to another or from a CLT folder to your course. So once again, hopefully just me saying these things, you're kind of seeing that it's easy to manage this space and create a good lesson that you all collaborated on and are hopefully creating these good experiences for students. So in terms of actual PD, how the next couple weeks are going to go, we want to acknowledge the fact that the next few weeks with SOLs, with the end of the year, with grades, just this year in general, we're all pretty fatigued and trying to manage this. But at the same time, we have to look forward to the start of the 21-22 school year. We want to try and make this as easy of a transition as possible while also saying, you know what, we don't have our 2 weeks of PD that we get to do, of just sitting down, learning, and preparing. We're going to get our normal 6 days, and that includes setting up rooms. So the more time and effort you can put in early on in this training, I think the easier you're going to make it for yourself when you come back to school. Now, with all that being said, no one's going to force you. There isn't going to be any type of verify that you're doing this. Just know that the time and practice you invest now will pay off when we come back to the year. We will have sessions at the beginning of the year to support you, but ideally when we get back on August 13th at the end of the day, you have a basic proficiency with Schoology in terms of actual managing and delivering instruction through a course. Each week a module will be released. These modules are trying to hit the 15 to 30 minute mark, and we are combing over them right now to make sure they're not too bloated. The county has pre-packaged them, and we might add our own things and change a few things. But we do want to give you that experience of going through the modules like a student would. So in some ways, when you're doing this, have the lens of a student because this is what possibly a course could look like. And each week we'll provide guidance around what that skill is. The sessions will be released on Thursday with the lowdown. That following Tuesday, we will have a synchronous session to support that module. And that might be Q&A, it might be a little bit of practice, maybe you're using your personal course and you want to just get feedback or you want to brainstorm with things, but those sessions are really there for the live Q&A or possibly the kind of more direct instruction component of Schoology if that's how you learn better. And these modules will be here basically even into the end of the year. I don't see this course going anywhere in the foreseeable future. So with all that, this is kind of like the end of our intro to Schoology. Next week we will properly start going into the modules. But right now, if you want to log in and just take a look and start exploring, you're more than welcome to. The URL for that is lms.fcps.edu. I think that's off the top of my head. I probably should have put it in the slide deck. And then you will be enrolled in a course and you can start exploring to your heart's content. You have a personal course that is really your sandbox. You can invite other teachers to be students in there, and that way you can all do that informal collaboration that was so vital to the past year. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. In the coming weeks, the core team will also be more in play, and you can also reach out to them, and we'll properly introduce them in the future. So thank you for the time, and hopefully this supports you and kind of acknowledges where everyone's at in the future. I look forward to working with you all on this.